What's going on, everybody? Welcome into this bonus episode of the Pack a Day podcast. I'm your host, Andy Herman. You can follow me on Twitter at Andy Herman NFL. I wanted to go over some potential draft day trades. I'm going to keep this one nice and short. I want to try doing some shorter form content, and hopefully you guys like it. But today, my main topic, as I mentioned, is going to be some draft day trades that Goody could potentially making on day one and day two of the draft. I think this is exactly where Goody's going to be very aggressive and potentially moving up and down the draft board. And for that exact reason, I wanted to go over some real possibilities that Goody could be looking at as he looks to maybe move up in round one, move down in round one, up into round two, maybe getting an additional pick, or moving down from round one into, later round one with picking up some additional round two capital as well. So I think there's a lot of interesting possibilities here. Today, I'm going to be using the Rich Hill trade model. There's all different trade models. None of them are perfect. So today I'm using the Rich Hill model. I'm also going to go over some trades that actually happened in previous NFL drafts using pick 13, pick 42, pick 45, the picks that Green Bay actually has, to show you what deals are legitimately possible and what has actually happened historically with those picks. So let's start with some potential trade ups. So theoretically, and again, you never know quite how teams are going to be willing to deal in a given draft, but theoretically, using the Rich Hill model, pick 13 plus pick 42, which Green Bay just got from the Jets in that Aaron Rodgers trade, is equal to pick 5 in the draft. Now, we don't know how Seattle views pick 5. If they really want to take a Jalen Carter and they're just set on that, that's a possibility. But theoretically, it could get you to pick 5. And Seattle, historically, has been a team that Green Bay has done a lot of deals with and usually likes moving down in the draft. So that could be one to keep an eye on. Again, theoretically, pick 13 plus pick 42 would be worth pick 5 in the draft. Pick 13 plus pick 45 in the draft, they're later of the 2 second rounders, just by 3 picks, is also right in that number 5 overall range, but probably gets you closer to pick 6 in the draft, which is the Detroit Lions. And before you might think, all right, but are the Lions really going to, give Green Bay pick 6? Would they really do that? They just dealt with Minnesota in moving up and down the draft a season ago. They dealt TJ Hawkinson to the Vikings. So they are apparently not opposed to trading within the division. And even last year, we saw the Vikings trade with Green Bay as Green Bay moved up to get Christian Watson. So these are not impossibilities, and these are real opportunities that, even though they're in the NFC North, could potentially take place. So Green Bay's first round pick, their 13th overall, with either 42 or 45, could and potentially, I guess, should get them to pick 5 or pick 6, at least according to the Rich Hill model. Now, what players could they potentially be targeting at that spot? Tyree Wilson, if he's potentially there, a dynamic edge rusher, that would be a home run selection, in my opinion. Give them a real physical freak on the outside opposite Rashawn Gary. A Will Anderson, if he's somehow still there, that could be within the realm of possibility. A Christian Gonzalez to pair with Jair Alexander, that would be really fun. To me, it's probably one of those 3 players. I think that's probably what you're looking at, is to get, if Green Bay is legitimately going to try to move up, maybe Jalen Carter, maybe they talk to Quay Walker and Eric Stokes and Devontae Wyatt, 3 players who probably know him pretty well. Maybe all 3 of them gave huge votes of confidence on Jalen Carter. Maybe he could be in play, but it would have to be one of those blue chip players that fell to pick 5 or pick 6 that Green Bay was willing to aggressively move up to go get one of those players, because giving up one of those second round picks would certainly be costly for Green Bay as they sort of start rebuilding this roster with, multiple pieces that they're going to need moving forward. But getting a huge end player like a Christian Gonzalez, a Tyree Wilson, or a Will Anderson could potentially make that possible. If you're wondering, pick 13 plus pick 42 plus pick 45, their first plus their 2 seconds, is theoretically worth pick 3 in the draft. That would have to be, in my opinion, for Tyree Wilson or Will Anderson, that they would just love one of those edge rushers. They're probably getting, depending on who goes at 2, if a quarterback goes at 2, they're getting the best defensive player in the draft, their choice. If a defensive player, if either Will Anderson or Tyree Wilson goes at 3, at 2, they can get the other one at 3 and still get probably their pick of the edge rushers. Could it be for a quarterback? Could they move up for pick 3? Let's say that pick number 1 is, Bryce Young. Pick number 2 is Will Anderson or Tyree Wilson. Pick 3, you have your choice of CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson, or Will Levis. I don't think so. There is surprised, there is shocked, and then there is stunned. I would be stunned if Green Bay took a quarterback in this draft, period, much less moved all 3 of their picks up to pick 3. But if Green Bay absolutely loved one, it wouldn't totally be out of the realm of possibility. Like if they were sure that CJ Stroud was the next big thing and he was there at pick 3, it's not entirely out of the possibility, although, like I said, I would be completely stunned. So I would think it would probably be for one of those 2 primary edge rushers if they were to do that. That would be very costly, using picks 42 and 45 plus their 13th overall to get up to pick 3 to take the top edge rusher. Fun to have that bookend with Rashawn Gary long term, but man, I would feel better about taking Lucas Van Ness or a Nolan Smith or somebody like that, and then having 2 second-round picks still. All right, so what are some trade down opportunities? Pick 13, if they wanted to, via the Rich Hill trade chart, is worth pick 24 and pick 56, which the Jaguars have both of those selections. So move down 11 picks to pick 24, pick up a second rounder, pick 56 overall. The Jaguars are in a place where they potentially could be looking for more higher end talent to build a playoff team from a season ago. Maybe they want somebody at pick 13 that they think is going to set them over the top. Maybe Jackson Smith-Njigba is there and they think they're a wide receiver away. They think that Trevor Lawrence with Christian Kirk and Jackson Smith-Njigba would be unstoppable. Who knows? Or maybe it's a tight end. Who knows what it could possibly be? But if they love somebody at 13 and are willing to give 24 and 56, think of Green Bay probably still getting one of the best tight ends in the draft at pick 24 and picking up a second round pick in the process. That doesn't sound so bad. So 24 and 56 for 13 could potentially be a possibility. One other unique one, which would maybe be a little bit too steep of a drop, but pick 13 is right around the same value for picks 29 and pick 40, which is the Saints' 2 picks. They have pick 29 and pick 40. It's close in value, but if the Saints were willing to do it, and the Saints have been a team that's been aggressive moving up in the draft in the past, that would give Green Bay pick 29, 40, 42, and 45. Basically 4 picks in a 16 pick period of time and 4 top 45 picks in this draft. And yes, you're moving back, so it's not going to be the premium selection that you're potentially getting at pick 13, but still maybe getting one of those top tight ends at pick 29, not impossible. And now 3 picks, 40, 42, and 45 in the second round. That would give Goot a lot of talent. And again, 4 top 45 picks in this draft. So that could be another unique one. Another one, if Green Bay, let's say Green Bay picks a player at 13 and wants to get back up into the first round, pick 42 and pick 45 together are equal in value to pick 20, which the Seahawks happen to have. And again, the Seahawks usually love moving down. So pick 20 for 40 and 45 could very much be in play. Could you imagine a scenario where Green Bay goes Jackson Smith-Njigba at 13, then trades 42 and 45 up to 20 and gets Dalton Kincaid or Michael Mayer, and they end up with one of the top tight ends and the top wide receiver in this draft? You want to go out and help Jordan Love? That would go a long way in doing it. And before you think maybe, like, I don't know if they're going to be willing to give up 2 second, they just did it a season ago. They gave up 2 second round picks to move up in the second round to pick Christian Watson. So I very much think that this would be a deal that if the right player was there, that Green Bay would be interested in pulling the trigger. And like I said, imagine a draft where you get Jackson Smith-Njigba and still one of the top tight ends. That would be massive for this offense and for Jordan Love moving forward. And then the last one, using the trade value chart, let's say they wanted to get another second round pick. Theoretically, their third round pick, 78th, and their fourth round pick 116, is worth pick 62, which is at the end of the second round. That is an Eagles selection, and that would give Green Bay a third second round pick. So maybe they like, one of the top defensive tackles at that point in the draft. Maybe they want to, maybe Jack Campbell's there and they just absolutely loved him. One of those players that screamed off the page that, are Green Bay Packers. That could be potentially in play here. And if all of a sudden they want to go get one of those guys, their third and their fourth is theoretically worth a bottom second round pick. So that's something that Goody could do as well. All right, historically, let's look at some actual trades that took place in 2022, just last year. Houston traded its first round selection, pick 13 overall, to Philadelphia in exchange for pick 15. Now, maybe this isn't super likely because that's the Jets in this scenario and they just swapped these picks already, right? But they moved back 2 spots and they got a 4th round pick and 2 5th round picks by doing so. So just moving down a spot, 2 spots, 3 spots could theoretically get them a 4th and 2 5th round selections. That was just from last year's draft. My guess is they'd probably rather just stay at 13, but that was an option from 2022. In 2021, Minnesota traded pick 14, so 1 pick after Green Bay's pick 13. They traded pick 14 and a 4th round selection to the Jets for their first and 2 third-round selections. So they got the 23rd overall pick, and then they got the 66th pick and the 86th pick. So they got 2 really nice third-round selections. They moved down 9 spots, and they gave up a 4th-round pick. So maybe not totally ideal, but picking up 2 third-round picks, and I know that's a little bit scary as a Packer fan because of the third-round pick history, but moving down 9 spots, giving up a 4th, picking up 2 thirds, that could be something that is in play and ultimately was in play for the Vikings in 2021. Also in 2021, the Giants traded pick 42, which Green Bay owns, in exchange with Miami for a 2nd-round selection, pick 50 overall, and a future 3rd-round pick. So they only moved down 8 spots in the 2nd round and picked up a future 3rd-round pick. So that would absolutely be something that I think would be of high interest to Goody, would be moving down just 8 spots with one of those 2nd-round picks, still probably getting a player they really like and picking up a 3rd-round pick next year. That would be a very fun trade for Green Bay. In 2019, the Rams traded pick 45 to New England. Again, 45 is the second of Green Bay's 2nd round picks. They traded that for pick 56 and a 3rd round pick 101. So move down 11 spots in the 2nd round, pick up pick 101, a late 3rd round pick in that scenario. So that could be another scenario where Green Bay just moves down a little bit in the 2nd round with one of their 2nd round picks and picks up another 3rd round pick in this draft, probably a top 100 player on their draft board with pick 101. So that could be another fun trade for Green Bay. In 2018, your Green Bay Packers traded a 1st round selection, pick 14 overall, you know this trade very well, for the Saints 1st round pick 27, a 5th round pick 147, and a future 1st round pick. And I very much believe that this will be something that Green Bay would love to do again. If they could go from 13 to the bottom of the 1st round, pick 26, 27, 28, somewhere in there, pick up a future 1st round pick, that would be a golden trade for Green Bay. So still potentially getting one of those top tight ends at that point in the draft. Maybe at that point it's a Washington or a Musgrave. Maybe Kincaid fell that far. Maybe Mayer fell that far. Maybe a little bit less likely. But I still think you probably get one of those players. At least one of them's in play. If not, you're still getting a talented player at the end of the 1st round. You pick up a future 1st round next year and a 5th round pick in the process. That would be an absolute home run for the Packers. And then also in 2018, the Patriots traded their 43rd overall pick to Detroit in exchange for Detroit's 2nd and 4th round selections, the 51st and 117th overall selections. So they were able to move down just 8 spots and pick up a 4th round selection in the process. And then last but not least, going all the way back to 2012, if you want to look at potentially moving up in the draft, the St. Louis Rams at that point traded pick 6 overall to the Cowboys for pick 14 and pick 45. So we talked earlier about how potentially Green Bay could move up to pick 6. Well, in that draft in 2012, pick 14 and 45. Remember, Green Bay has picks 13 and 45. That got them to pick 6 in that draft, meaning the Cowboys moved up from 14 to 6 with the Rams in that trade. So there is some precedence there that if Green Bay did want to all of a sudden move up to pick 6 to get one of those top edge rushers, maybe a Christian Gonzalez or just whoever is the top player on their board, maybe it's a Paris Johnson, one of the top offensive tackles, whoever it may be, giving up pick 13 and one of their 2nd round picks to do so could potentially be in play if they wanted to move up to that spot at pick 6. So again, there is some historical precedence there. That's going to do it for all the potential trades. Obviously, Goody is going to have a ton of possibilities with all the selections that he has at his disposal, moving up the draft, moving down the draft. Only time will tell, but these are some potential trades that could take place and that could be options for Goody on Thursday and Friday. Thanks for joining me. I will see you right back here tomorrow with an all new episode. But until next time, and as always, go Pack Go.